Hello, I'm Robin Gibson, and this is the Harvard House Money Morsel. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the bell so you get a notification of when we release a new video. I'm welcoming back again Michael Porter.
Morning,
Michael,
Robin.
thanks for joining us. Michael, we see that the Fed has raised interest rates this week, as did the European Central Bank, and Australia, I think, has also raised their rates this week. We've mentioned before on this segment that we're not just interested in what happens with the rates, we're interested in the commentary that comes out of the Fed at the same time. So maybe give us some insight, please, if you wouldn't mind, as to what the commentary was.
Sure, Robin. Yeah, I don't think there was any surprise that the Fed raised rates. That sort of signaled that quite broadly that one more rate hike was necessary. The big change in this meeting was removing the text that referred to more rate hikes, basically. So, as you say, it's all in the nuance and even what words they use, whether it's... But they removed that, and the market is definitely... taking that as a signal that US interest rates have peaked. That was the last hike, and the market is already actually discounting that cuts will start happening by July, August time. Maybe that's probably a little bit premature because the Jerome Powell was quite clear that interest rates aren't going to fall anytime soon.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, the market is actually taking a different view at the moment. And so the ECB hiked rates yesterday as well. They were expected to actually do 50 basis points. They only did 25 basis points. And they also said that, inflation is still a concern, but they also made the comment that previous interest rate hikes, and remember the ECB has also come from 0 to sort of 3.25% now. So it's also been aggressive hiking in their context. The rate hikes are starting to impact on the sort of economic and financial conditions,
Yes.
And so, the one, maybe the sort of outlier or the slightly different thing was that Australia, which you mentioned, also raised rates. They'd actually already paused.
Yes.
And then they felt the need to raise rates again. So that was almost like a bit of a shot across the bow.
Wow.
That, don't just assume that just because they've paused, that this is definitely the top of the cycle.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, what we can't ignore, Robin, is that the banking crisis hasn't gone away. These US bank shares are under enormous pressure. So if you guys would have read the newspapers 2 weeks ago, First Republic Bank essentially was bought by JP Morgan last weekend or the weekend before. But some of the other US bank shares, sort of regional banks, Pacific Bancorp, and one or two others are really under a lot of pressure. So this whole banking crisis hasn't really gone away. US banks are under a lot of pressure. It hasn't spilled out into global banks or anything yet. But what's going to stop that sort of contagion gaining momentum is it's definitely a stop to hiking rates and even a cut in interest rates.
So that's going to be something that's important. Michael, obviously everyone wants to know, how are we going to sort of experience downstream? We were actually, I think we started hiking earlier than the Fed did, but how will the Fed's actions feed into South African interest rates?
Yeah, listen, it's obviously a good thing that the Fed hopefully has stopped because the dollar starts to weaken a little bit. That allows the rand a little bit of breathing room. Not that there's been much breathing room on the rand, but the oil price and commodity prices have fallen quite a lot. So the oil price is back at $72 sort of dollars. The rand is stable. It's been stable for sort of 2 or 3 months at sort of 18.20 or thereabouts. So it's not blowing out, but it is weak. But yeah, Robin, obviously we had a bad inflation print last month, 7.1%, which was against consensus. But then a week later, we had a very good PPI print, producer inflation, which was much better than expected, which shows that the pipeline pressures in inflation are easing considerably, But what it does do, certainly, when the Fed stops hiking, it gives everybody else a chance to pause, to assess. And so I can't say for certain, I don't think we can say for certain that the SARB has finished hiking.
Yeah.
But they did do 50 basis points, remember, at the
Yes.
March meeting as almost a preemptive sort of hike.
Yes.
And maybe this will give them room to maybe there's one more 25 basis point hike coming, but then I think we're also going to pause and see how conditions unfold, you know.
Yes.
But I mean, if the Fed pauses, it gives everybody else a chance to pause as well, because everything's referenced off America.
And of course, I mean, we haven't got time to go into it now, but the swing factor in our economy is definitely this load shedding and how bad that's going to get. But that's probably can be saved for another episode. Michael, thanks so much for your time. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time. Bye-bye.